I'd like to thank each of you for your service to your country. Can you comment a little bit about the massacre in way in which the North Vietnamese soldiers murdered at least 2,800 Vietnamese civilians? This hasn't been talked about. It was described in the Western media that they were killed by American artillery fire, when in fact their hands were bound when the bodies were exhumed. They were actually murdered by the North Vietnamese. Can you comment about this, please?
Well, maybe Charles can to a greater degree. I am not a historian. I've not written any books, and I'm not intending to. So all I know about it is what I've read. And I also know from having been there from pretty early in the engagement to 9 March. I mean, the official dates of the Waste City operation in Marine Corps history is the 2nd of February to the 2nd of March. For those many who lost their lives on the 31st of January and the 1st of February, they might take some exception to a 2 February start, but that's the way it was. I do know there was no massacre perpetrated by U.S. or Vietnamese forces, ARVN, South Vietnamese forces during that time. And I've read, as you have, the number of bodies that have been found and were found a month or so after the Waste City operation was over. Charles, do you know?
This is the one subject where I tend to come a little unglued. Yes, there was, Peter Baystrup writes about this in some detail. And yes, they did find 2,800 bodies, and that may not be totally inclusive. What I find so incredibly offensive is that this was a matter of Vietnamese policy to kill the civil servants and teachers and priests. I think recorded one priest being buried alive. And, you know, when you go visit the area, they really dramatize the massacre at My Lai, which was not government policy. I won't go into whether numbers were greater or smaller. I don't think that's relevant. I think My Lai was an aberration, but every year at the anniversary of My Lai, this is what we hear about, and we rarely hear about the incredible massacres by the North Vietnamese and Viet Cong and Hue, the 2,800 that you're referring to. Now, having said that, that was government policy. They intended, as a matter of principle, to kill 2,800 people who were identified by name. You had the terrorists going around with a clipboard, pulling people out of their beds and whatnot. After Saigon fell in 1975, they did the same thing and basically massacred, by best accounts, about 500,000 South Vietnamese as a matter of government policy. I am a little bit concerned about Americans who go back and try and embrace their North Vietnamese counterparts without knowing what role they may have played in the massacres after April 1975, or about the 1 million killed in re-education camps, or the 2 million who died as boat people. So, you know, I fought the Vietnamese, and as far as I know, there was an honorable fight among professional soldiers, but I don't know what role any of them might have played in later massacres or things that I consider really despicable acts and no part of warfare as I know it. So I don't know if that helps you, but that's kind of how I feel.